Hello, I'm Christina Sprader, the Associate Director here at the Institute for Personalized Learning. Thanks so much for joining us today on another episode of our Learner-Centered Design series, Tools for Transformation. Over the last 8 years of being in existence as the Institute, we've had the fortune of working with many pioneers, leaders, practitioners, a variety of people who are designing awesome learner-centered practices for the students in their learning community as a part of this growing network. We've created a variety of processes, tools, and resources for understanding why personalized learning, what it means, what it looks like in action, and ways to make it come to life or how to make it come to life in any learning community. One of our most utilized resources is our honeycomb model, as well as its supporting change strategy. Our implementation toolkit also houses a wide range of resources and tools designed by educators and leaders to support practitioners no matter where they are along the 6-stage implementation progression. This Learner-Centered Design series is an opportunity to take a deeper dive into some of these tools, including what they are, identifying the purpose for how they might be used in any learning community, and giving an overview of what the tool looks like. All of these tools being designed to move this transformational work forward in a given community. You can also access these tools through the Institute website, where you can download the free toolkit and further explore what's embedded within there. Feel free to pause the video at any time to download now or later, or connect with others around anything being discussed around this topic. Today's episode of the Learner-Centered Design series is a self-reflection tool identifying a system's readiness for change when moving toward a learner-centered paradigm. As you can see on the screen, you can access and download this tool by the URL that's provided in the lower corner. Paste that into your web browser, or type that into your web browser, and you'll have access to this tool that I'm going to walk through with you, as well as other tools that support implementation. The Institute for Personalized Learning's toolkit was created in response to frequently asked questions following presentations, trainings, and PD sessions relating to why personalized learning, or how do I make this happen? So the toolkit is comprised of a collection of tools, processes, activities, templates, all categorized around one of our 6 stages. It's updated annually, and as you can see on the screen, this is the 7th edition of the toolkit. It was designed to be used within any given context, really dependent on the current level of implementation and what might be helpful for next steps in moving this transformational work forward within an individual classroom, a school, or a district. The toolkit is designed around the 6 stages of implementation. The stages begin with getting started, then design, moving into implementation, iteration, and then growing into expansion and systemic change. The first couple stages, the getting started and design, are really around changing assumptions, beliefs, and thinking within an individual or system that begin to set up an experience for the learner. So the second 2 stages, implementation and iteration, are really about designing or changing the learner's experience to a learner-centered paradigm. The last 2 stages, expansion and systemic change, are really focused on making system-wide changes. Today's episode is going to take a deeper look into a tool within the getting started stages of the implementation toolkit. It's important to think about the purpose of any tool that we're using as an individual or with our teams. Here are a few purposes for why this tool might be right for your team. It might be that you're looking to increase stakeholder commitment. It might be that you're identifying steps towards learner-centered practices. It might be that you're trying to determine what is in place and what is needed to get this work started or moving in your community. It might be a way to set some goals with what your team is seeing as a next step in this transformational work. But identifying the purpose in your learning community is important when utilizing any of the tools within the toolkit, and specifically today, the Readiness for Change reflection tool. Each of the tools in the toolkit allows for practical application in a variety of contexts. So today, we hope that you can identify a purpose for your learning community to utilize this tool. The toolkit, when you download it, has a table of contents. The table of contents has a coding system so that you can find the specific tools that you're looking for. Specifically today, you can see the arrow pointing toward the Readiness for Change rubric. As you follow new editions of the toolkit, you will see highlights identifying updates, as you can see an example in the toolkit here. The transformation process has been updated. So you always know new tools as they're added. So let's get started with an overview of the tool itself. This tool, or the Tool 1.1, Readiness for Change, is the first tool listed in the Getting Started section of the toolkit. All of the tools in the toolkit are designed with background information that you can see listed here. So we'll tell you how long you might use this tool for, what type of activity it is, what is a good number of people to do this with, how difficult is this going to be, how challenging is this going to be for conversation with your team, and what you might get out of this. There's also listed things that you might want to keep in mind. So these are helpful thoughts as you move into using any of these tools. This specific tool gives you a sense of the readiness for designing learner-centered practices, as well as an opportunity to define an action plan or next steps of moving some of these things forward that you reflect on through the questions listed. This provides a great opportunity to focus some important conversations with a team that's working on moving this transformational work forward. So then we get to the actual tool itself. This is a snapshot of how the tool looks and what you might use it for. So you can see at the top, it says that there's a rating system, 1 through 5, of not in place at a 1 up to it's in place, you're making adjustments, and you're just refining the practice at a 5. Using this rating system, there's a list of statements that you can reflect on as a team of where do you feel you are from a 1 to 5. As an example, the first statement is a clear and compelling picture of the need for educational change has been developed. So as a team or individually, you could self-reflect on where you feel you are within that statement and circle 1 through 5. This could be something that everybody on a team does individually, and then you compare, or you might talk through each question all together and write down your responses as a whole. It's really a great way to get everyone as a part of the conversation and to have some really focused, purposeful conversations around some really challenging work as you're moving into this transformation toward a learner-centered paradigm. After you've finished going through each of those statements, there's a second page or a second part to this tool. As you can see here, great. You've answered the statements or you've reflected, but now what? So if you indicated mostly 3s and above in the Getting Started tool, sounds like you're ready to go. You're ready to move this transformational work forward. If you're not exactly sure where you are or where you need to be, there are some suggestions of how you might proceed as a team, as a school, in getting ready to make this work ready to be moving towards a learner-centered paradigm. Use these suggestions as well as things that you discuss as a team when walking through those statements to plan your next steps. So the last part of this tool is a place to write down some of those thoughts on what might you do as your next steps for making this work happen. So if you reflected and you had all 3s and above, you might be starting to look into, all right, we are good to go with this Readiness for Change rubric. What are our next steps for making it happen? If there were statements that you were not sure you were ready for as a system, maybe it's digging deeper into those ones that you felt you were below a 3 and creating some action steps of what could you do to move that work so that the next time you self-reflect, you are at a 3, you are at a 4, you are at a 5, you're ready to make this work move forward. So use this table to create action steps after you do the self-reflection process and create a timeline for moving this work forward. This will look different for every team, but really the most important thing about this is identifying areas either within the Readiness for Change tool or next steps that need to be addressed for starting to move this work forward. Our toolkit is a set of tools designed to be used for individuals and teams in moving this transformational work forward. It's all designed for a particular purpose, the toolkit as a whole, as well as the individual tools within it. We really encourage you to identify where you are at as a team, and then think about the tool that aligns with where you are to move you forward. So match the tool with a purpose. Again, going back to our original conversation about the purpose for this tool, this might be a tool that you use to build energy around transformation. This might be a tool about getting on the same page as a team based on your current status. You might see a whole different purpose for utilizing this tool that's based on your context, and that's fantastic. We are really excited to hear feedback on how you use this Readiness for Change rubric as a self-reflection process for moving this work forward. This is one example of a tool that's a part of our toolkit. As I shared before, we have a whole toolkit that you can download with the link in front of you. You'll also be able to access other videos that describe the other tools that are a part of this free toolkit as well. We would love, again, to hear feedback on tools that you utilize or other tools that you feel would be beneficial to add in if you connect with us at the link that you see for our email. Please feel free to share this with others as well. We are about a growing network and sharing the work together for moving this towards a learner-centered paradigm for all learners in our education system. Thanks so much for joining today, and we're looking forward to the next episode on our learner-centered design series, Tools for Transformation.